After comprehensively defeating the Kiwis, India now play its semi-final against Australia, a team which historically has dominated India in ICC tournaments. Will Team India finally conquer the giants from down under and move on to the finals of the Champions Trophy? I am Aaryaman, and this is what we're going to talk about in today's episode of The Aaryaman Show. The D-Day is finally here. The much awaited phase of the Champions Trophy is here. And it starts with a bang, with India playing Australia in the first semi-final, and then the Kiwis playing South Africa in the second semi-final in Pakistan. Let's talk in brief about what happened against the Kiwis. Starting from the top, India lost the toss for the 13th consecutive time. I mean, that is a feat in itself. I mean, usually, you hear tosses are not biased, but India losing the toss for the 13th time, it sure sounds like bias. Or maybe the coin has the same sides on both of the ends. India started off its innings in the usual way with Rohit Sharma trying to be aggressive, going in with good intent and hitting those shots. But this plan soon failed because Shubman Gill was dismissed soon enough, followed Rohit Sharma, who mistimed a pull shot and hit it straight to the fielder. And then just when Virat Kohli looked in good touch, just when we thought, okay, now he's going to play a big innings, he gets caught by Glenn Phillips. And that was a beautiful, beautiful catch, excellent flying catch, athleticism at its peak. Superman moment. All right, moving on. India's middle order was finally exposed. They were exposed to that pressure. Usually, it was the top order that absorbed all the pressure, and when the middle order came, they had no real pressure to, play that big of an innings or a very serious innings. Only Shreyas Iyer had to do that in the last game against Pakistan, which he did very well. And this time, even it was Shreyas Iyer and Akshar Patel at number 5 who pulled India from the jaws of loss. Shreyas Iyer and Akshar Patel together scored a 98-run partnership. Even though the partnership started off slow, Akshar took a lot of time to just settle in. Same with Shreyas Iyer, he took his time, he settled in. And for a while, it did seem that pressure was getting onto them. And if they did not play any shots sooner, then pressure would flow down to the rest of the batters. But they did not let that happen. Shreyas Iyer soon enough started firing everywhere on the ground. And even Akshar Patel joined him. And together they built a very well knit partnership. And that only helped the batters that came after them. You saw KL Rahul coming in, scoring a very decent innings of 23. While I did hope that he would make much more, unfortunately, it was just not his day. Ravindra Jadeja too played a supporting innings for quite some time. But again, the man in the limelight was Hardik Pandya. A beautiful 45-run innings in 45 balls with a strike rate of 100, just what India needed. Those big boundaries, those big sixes right in the end of the innings. And that kind of sealed the Kiwis' fate, because even though India did not get to the 270, 280 that they had planned, they still got to 250, which was pretty well by India standards. The Kiwis, in spite of not having as many spinners as India, which did benefit India, they did build good enough pressure. Even with their fast bowling on a pitch that was slower, they did very well. And to restrict India to 250, considering you did not have as many spinners and you used about 2 to 3 spinners only, it was a job well done by the Kiwi bowling lineup. And those 3 wickets early on was the reason why the Kiwis could restrict India to 250. The onus was now upon the Kiwi batsmen, and having performed well throughout this tournament, we thought this would be a very interesting chase and that the Kiwis might even chase the target, because at the end of the day, 250 was a very achievable target on this ground. But India had foresightedness. They bought 5 spinners with them to Dubai for the Champions Trophy, and everyone at the start was confused why. Well, this is the reason why. Because the pitch slowed down and started turning. And Indians only needed to bowl 8 overs of pace. They did not even get a second pacer. They only went with Mohammad Shami and Hardik Pandya, the all rounder. And they bowled a total of 8 overs between themselves. And the rest of the 33, 34 overs, all spin. And this also marked the ICC Champions Trophy debut for Varun Chakravarti. And what a debut it was! A fifer in his very first game that got India the match. And it was this foresightedness of the team management and BCCI which really sealed the deal for India. Playing spin on this ground, it was tough. Everyone knew the Kiwis are a good team when it comes to playing spin, but even spin deceived them that day. And rest, as we know, is history. And because India won that game and topped the table, they now play Australia in the first semi-final, which is being held in Dubai. Now, playing a knockout game, that too against a team like Australia, is never an easy task. We've seen this multiple times. Australia, they've done fairly well in the group stage, not so great, but when they come onto that knockout phase of the tournament, they're a completely different team. It's as if pressure does not affect them at all. And this is what the game is boiling down to. It is going to be a game of pressure. Who handles pressure better? Is it going to be India or is it going to be Australia? Coming into this game, India have played 3 games in the group stage, have won all of them. So they will be very high on confidence. Plus, India by now have kind of understood how this pitch is going to behave, how this game could go forward. And they now also have their fourth spinner, that is Varun Chakravarti. And I will be expecting Varun Chakravarti to play this game, especially after that stellar performance against New Zealand, because he will be very crucial, especially all of the spinners actually will be very crucial to how India fare in this game. On the other hand, India's batting lineup is looking as good as ever, with Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli coming in form, Shubman Gill scoring a century against Bangladesh, Virat Kohli scoring a century against Pakistan. And even if they did fail against New Zealand, I am sure they will be hoping to hop back on and to play a big innings today. And even if they fail, you have Shreyas Iyer playing at number 4. Throughout this tournament, he's done very well. He's not scored too many runs. He scored somewhere about 50 to 70 runs in almost each and every innings. But he's done that very well. And he's played the role of a stabilizer very well. He stabilizes the innings. And he just switches gears when other team needs, and he starts scoring runs, and he takes the team out of peril. And that is basically what India will need today if things do go south early on. And to accompany him, you have Akshar Patel, who did very well. You have KL Rahul, who is in this tournament doing not so good. Even his keeping in the last game was bad. It wasn't good. But he would be practicing and hoping to improve, considering that this is going to be a very huge match for India. And even if KL Rahul fails, you still have Jadeja and Hardik Pandya. So the depth you have, the potential of players you have, the quality of players that you have are so good. Even if one fails, the another will stand and deliver. On the other hand, Australians who came here with, not their full strength side, they had many of the main players missing, but they won't be scared of India at all. Even though Australia have played only one game before coming into the semi-finals, they are comparatively underprepared as to India. But Australia, like I said, in a knockout game is on a different level, and that is what I'm expecting today. Australia pretty much has a fixed batting lineup. They are using the same players. You have Travis Head, you have Steve Smith, you have Josh Inglis, you have Marnus Labuschagne. So you have the same set of batsmen who were there earlier. The only difference between now and ODI team from a few months ago will be the bowlers. You don't have Mitchell Stark, you don't have Pat Cummins. Instead, you have Spencer Johnson and Dwarshuis. So these are young talents, but they're very good as well, and they can take those early wickets. And especially being a left-handed fast bowler, he could prove lethal to the Indian opening lineup. Now, Australia too has faced a couple of injuries, and that has caused them to replace their players. And now they have bought in two spinners. And now this is where it gets interesting. So basically, this means Australia now has 3 to 4 good quality spinners along with your part-time Head and Maxwell. So this could very well go out to be a very balanced match. Of course, the spinners that Australia has bought in do not have the kind of experience that Indian spinners have, but the Australians would be hoping that they perform when the time comes. On the other hand, India's thought process would be very similar to how it would be. Meanwhile, India's thought process would be very similar to how it was in the last game. Win the toss, bat first, put on as many runs as you can, and then defend them. Because defending a score, if that is above the 270 or 280 marks, like I said, it's going to be very easy. Chasing it will be very difficult considering the Australian lineup. It will be a tad bit difficult for them. If we are to talk about who has the biggest advantage in this tie, it is India. They've played in Dubai since the very start. They know how the pitch is going to act. They had a good 6-day break in between Pakistan and New Zealand's game. And even though this game comes only a couple of days post the New Zealand game, India will be fresh and India will be very well prepared for Australia. If we are to talk about the starting 11, I predict that India will go with the same 11 that they went with in the game against New Zealand. Whereas Australia, they will probably make a couple of changes, bring in those extra spinners, and hope that Glenn Maxwell and Travis Head do well in this game, not only with the bat, but with the ball especially. Because if India does get to bat first, the pressure will be on the Aussies to restrict them down. And if India does lose the 14th toss consecutively, well, it could be anyone's game then. Because if India does restrict Australia, even if it's to 260 or 270, you still have hope because you have Virat Kohli in your side, you have Rohit Sharma in your side. And these guys are beasts when it comes to chasing. So this was my review of India versus New Zealand, come the preview of India versus Australia. I hope you like this video. If you do like it, like, share and subscribe because, if you like and you subscribe, that gives me motivation to make more such videos. So do like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you day after tomorrow with a brand new video. Cheers.